Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Marauder here with kind of a rant. I don't know what you would classify this as, but we're going to talk about it. So, I saw this all over the internet. A couple of my subscribers, long-time subscribers, people who, interact with me on, 5 or 6 different mediums, YouTube, Twitter, etc., message me about Saturn news and developments. So, I looked into this, and I've been very intrigued and impressed by it, and the thing that gets me about it is the fact of just how unimpressed a lot of people are. So I want to take a minute to talk about the Saturn, and some of the Saturn history, and why this development is actually rather important, especially if it progresses. If it doesn't progress, then it's obnoxious, but the fact that this information has already been passed on to emulation coders and things like that, that the information is now out there, so that maybe if this person doesn't continue with it, someone else can pick up the ball. But so, I'm not entirely sure what the appropriate title would be. People in some sites refer to him as a hacker, others refer to software engineer, hardware engineer. I guess it all depends on what flavor title you want to be described as, but this gentleman was able to develop a means of bypassing the Saturn optical drive using the video card slot in the back. Now, a lot of people don't know that there's a video card slot in the back. If you take a look at the back of a Saturn, there's a little section that opens up, and there's a little lithium-ion battery, and everyone knows about the little lithium-ion battery because that powers the internal memory. And then you have to replace that every so often, but actually, that slot was designed for video CD card adapter that allowed the Saturn to play video CDs when that was looking to be a big thing. It was a attachment that plugged in, allowed you to pop a video CD in, and it had the video CD encoder on the card so that you could play it through the Saturn optical drive. Well, this gentleman has figured out a way to use that card slot to bypass the Saturn optical drive completely, so that you don't have to worry about it. And it is the equivalent of an EverDrive for the Saturn, is what he has currently developed. The reason why he developed it is because the copy protection on the Saturn has actually been a hassle to deal with over the last several years. There are ways of bypassing it, but they're less than pleasant means of bypassing. Mod chips were around. As far as I can tell, no one's still developing mod chips, and even still, the mod chips are a permanent hardware. You have to solder the mod chip in, meaning you have to have, knowledge of the hardware. You have to have, a skill in soldering. It's not exceptionally difficult, but not something the average person would want to do. And then there's newer means, pseudo-Saturn, which allows you to take an action replay card and flash it to act as a card in the memory card slot to bypass the copy protection. The only problem is the action replays are in limited supply. There's only going to be a finite number of them because no one's making those either. And in order to do it, you have to know the Saturn swap disk trick, which I've done, and I swear I will never do again. It's not a fun experience. It's one of those you have to have very good timing for, and you have to do it, for pseudo-Saturn you only have to do it once, but it still doesn't take away the optical drive part, and if you screw up doing it and you have to do it multiple times, you could actually do damage to the optical drive, which is really already the biggest failure point of the console, is the optical drive. Now, this card, like I said, just plugs into the back and manages to bypass the optical drive completely. It is an EverDrive. It is a plug-and-play solution. And that in itself is amazing. The fact that there is a plug-and-play solution. Like, imagine, say, a memory card for your PS1 that you can plug in and that's it. You never have... It's like the hard drive in an original Xbox. Those can be modded because it's just a standard hard drive. And you can put all sorts of things on it. Classic emulation, new games, all sorts of things. Newer consoles are easier because they have more and more standard computer-like components and architecture. Saturn's a freakish beast. I, I swear, looking at what little documentation of it exists, it it looks like it was designed by several hardware engineers on a drunken bender, and like, the fact that this is even a possibility just amazes me, because I'm a huge Saturn fan. The Saturn is my favorite console of all time, and the fact that I've always been worried about the lifespan of the console itself, because I have several Dreamcasts. I've had several Dreamcasts where the optical drive has gone out on me, and with the Dreamcast there are the GDEMU solutions. There are solutions like this for the Saturn as well. The Rhea and Phoebe boards, I've been looking into those too as well. Those still require you to, pop open your console and, remove the optical drive and replace it with this board. So it's something I've been looking at. The only problem is the person who makes them really gets swamped with it. So it takes a long time. So I've been really holding out on picking one of those up, because I wonder how it would affect, playing like the fan translations for Shining Force. Like, how would the Shining Force translation project work with this? Would it have any issues? I mean, I imagine not, as long as you're playing with the patched ISO. But I don't know. I don't know how the plug-and-play card would work with it either. But I'm more interested in the plug-and-play option, because then I don't have to basically destroy a Saturn. I have a spare Saturn. That's how paranoid I am about the optical drive going on. I have a modded Saturn so that I can play the console, and I have a spare Saturn just sitting in the back in case something happens. I wouldn't be able to play the fan translations because I don't have a mod chip for it, and I can't find mod chips for it. And that's really the crux of my argument, and my rant here is I can't find a mod chip because no one's making a mod chip. Because why? There are newer ways of getting around this that are becoming more and more prevalent, easier to deal with, and less obnoxious. You don't have to fiddle with physical hardware modifications. You can just... There are ways to get around it. And I love that. I love that people are still trying to preserve the Saturn. And that's really what I wanted to talk about, is preservation. A lot of people don't realize that the Saturn has no means of preservation. Other consoles, yes, you can... The company kept a lot of the documentation, a lot of the information for. Sega did not keep a lot. In fact, they outright deleted source codes for dozens of games. The old legends speak of the fact that back then hard drive space was at a premium, so they didn't keep the source code for a lot of games, because once the game was finished and when Golden was available via retail, they didn't need to keep the source code. So they deleted it to make space for the next project. And I'm pretty sure the rumor is that they deleted Panzer Dragoon Saga to free up hard drive space so they could work on Sonic Adventure. Like, that's the... that is the long-standing rumor of Sega history, that Panzer Dragoon Saga, one of the greatest RPGs that no one has ever played, was just deleted so that they could start working on another game. So the only way to play that is via physical game or emulation. And I know emulation's coming along, but it's still not where it would ever be in a commercial state. Like, we're never going to see Sega say, hey, here's a Sega Saturn emulator so you can play these games on Steam. It's never going to happen. At least not... Well, I mean, it's never going to happen, but it's never going to happen because it would be a lot of work for Sega. But it's not likely to happen soon, because Saturn emulation's still a pain in the ass. It's better than it was, but it's still a pain in the ass. I hate having to deal with it. That's why I don't. A lot of people ask me when I'm recording Saturn projects, like, what emulator are you using? It's like, I'm not. I refuse to use one, because every time I've used one, I run into more headaches than I find it worth the trouble for. So the fact that people out there are still developing means to try to preserve these games. Because some of the games, yeah, they're going to be able to be on other platforms. Nights into Dreams has an HD remake, but that was not based off the Saturn version. It was based off of a PS2 port back when they still had the source code. Because Sega ported Nights into Dreams to the PS2 in Japan. There's a version of Dragon Force 1, that was ported to the PS2 in Japan that has never been released. So that could potentially see the light of day as a re-release. Guardian Heroes, I believe, was ported as well. Guardian Heroes may be the only one that wasn't ported. I don't know. There's not a... But it was also built from... Well, it looked like the ground up on a lot of that. But a lot of Saturn games are probably just never going to come back due to licensing agreements. Magic Knight Ray Earth, the last Saturn game released in North America. I really don't see Sega going to the company that owns the rights to Magic Knight for the graphic novel, the anime, and saying, hey, we want to re-release this game. I think that's the biggest problem that Nintendo had with their Virtual Console is they have to fight to get these games re-released. And you have to come up with new agreements and split the money in new and interesting ways because maybe the agreements or maybe the rights have split holders, and it's a long and arduous process that a lot of people don't think about. So the fact that Nintendo goes through that at all kind of blows my mind, and Sega's never really seemed to be that interested in that, which is why we only get so many games on various consoles. So that's the problem, is that there are so few people working on preservation about this, that this development blows my mind. And the fact that I've just seen so many people just saying, why is this such a big deal? Like, mod chips have existed forever. Like, no one takes a minute to stop and think about maybe mod chips aren't the best solution. Maybe could be a better solution. If I would have no issue spending $250 on an EverDrive for the Saturn. No issue at all. Because now I have a means of guaranteeing that as long as the motherboard for this console works, I can play these games. I don't have to worry about soldering anything. I don't have to worry about the optical drive in any way, shape, or form. Either bypassing it, or removing it, or cheating and using it to write a file to a memory card. I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just plug something in, and the console's still going to work. And that's going to allow people to, play games that they may not be able to play. Panzer Dragoon Saga is atrociously expensive. It is. It's more than most people could ever justify spending on a single game, let alone a library of games. So, and the fact that there are only limited copies. And people talk about disc rot. I've never seen disc rot personally, but I know people talk about it. So, the physical copies are only going to last so long. So, this digital aspect of having them on an EverDrive style cart is just... it's brilliant. It really is. Because a lot of people don't know about when I started this channel. I got into Let's Playing because I saw an amazing Let's Player, and I'm like, I can do that, I could be entertaining. But I also wanted to show people games that I enjoyed. So many people that I knew growing up, I had one friend who had a Saturn growing up. And he and I exchanged games all the time. My other friends, they would see the games that I played, and they were interested in it, but they never owned it. And I can only imagine the people who didn't see a Saturn and didn't get to experience these games. And talking to so many people after becoming an adult, it's like, oh, you had a Saturn? What? I didn't think those actually existed, that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, these are great games, and they're going to be lost to history. No one's going to get to experience them. I've gotten so many comments on my channel about some of these games, like, thank you for playing this, because I never got a chance to play it myself, and I'll probably never get to, given the prohibitive price. Or the fact that I can't get an emulation to work. I get so many questions about, hey, can you help me fix my emulators? No, I can't. I'm sorry. I don't know. And it really, really saddened me that so many people are never going to experience these games that are just amazing, that were just overlooked in their time, and now, you know, they're looked back on. Well, you know what? It's actually a good game. It's a shame no one got a chance to really to play it, because, you know, if it had sold then, the franchise might still be around. And that's it's one of the things that really inspired me to actually start playing a lot of the specific games that I played. They're games that I'm familiar with, and I could be somewhat entertaining playing, but I also don't want the games to be forgotten. And to this gentleman who goes by the moniker Dr. Abrasive, all I can say is thank you for this. The fact that you're developing this. If you do decide to continue with this, which I pray you do, please let me know when and if and when, hopefully more when than if, this becomes available as a commercial product, that you would be willing to produce these for enthusiasts. Please let me know. I will gladly be the first in line to pay for it, and I will do what I can to make sure I get it first so that I can sing its praises. Because if it functions at least half of what I'm expecting it to function as what I've seen just from your development video, that is the solution that I've been looking for years in order to preserve the library that I have. And that I could potentially encourage other Saturn fans who don't have the funds or the means or the ability to play a lot of these games that otherwise are going to be lost to history because no one thought to save them for any reason. Yeah, like I said, I hope that if you continue this, that I can be informed so that I can be first in line to buy it, because I guarantee you I will be first in line to buy a device like that. It is amazing. And to the people who haven't got a chance to experience these games, I hope they are in line right behind me so that they can pick up a Saturn and play some amazing games, and that they're not forgotten. So, yeah, if you haven't checked it, I'll try to leave a link to the development video below so that you can check it out. It makes me feel good as a gamer that people are still trying to preserve these games, when the companies that own the rights to don't. It kind of falls onto the fans to do it, and these people who have technical knowledge leaps and bounds above anything that I could ever hope to have, I'm really glad they're on the case. So, go check out this video if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts about not just, you know, the Saturn titles, but game preservation in general. What other consoles are there that need to be preserved? I know there's a ton that don't get the attention, like the Jaguar, the 3DO, the TurboGrafx PC Engine, things like that aren't getting a lot of the recognition that they should. And I really think that, you know, as a community, we could step up and make sure a lot of these games are categorized and preserved. So, let me know in the comment section below, and I will catch you all for the next time I have, you know, something to rant or just, you know, talk into the wind to. So, later, everyone.